Generally do roll call, please.
Mike Dolson, Tom McDonald,
Here.
Jennifer Finley,
Here.
Jim Molitor, Carol Langford, Danielle Matt,
Here.
Bing Matt, James Steele Jr., Martin Charlo,
Present.
Len Tuteeth, Lanish Trahan.
Thank you, Jen. I see James is logged in. Okay. Okay. Well, let's start us off with a prayer. Francis, would you lead us in a prayer this morning? He's pointing that camera at me at graduation, I remember. All right, we have an agenda today. Well, let's first look at our minutes. I'm going to get my protocol here. We have minutes from May 29th, I think.
Mr. Chairman, on page 1, Terra Urban Tribal Lands Department, talking about the powwow at Elmo Powwow Grounds. The statement, the $500 cost of toiletries will be paid for by the school, and the school will provide the food and water. Let's take that sentence out. That was the fee that they paid. It wasn't for toiletries.
Mr. Chair, could I just change where I was at? I was actually at the Libby Dam.
Thank you. That was the Basic Species Council, Western Montana, the new entity. Yeah, you guys toured the facility and then had your meeting. Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I believe it might be on the second page where we were talking about the resignation from that employee. I would like that stated as to rescind the termination and accept the letter of resignation.
Okay. Sounds accurate.
Motion to approve the minutes with corrections.
Motion by Len to approve the May 29th council minutes with corrections. Second by Jimmy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all's in favor? Yeah, Jen's on the line and James is on the line. Oh, he's coming in. Jumped off for a second. But motion passes with one out of the room, James. And we have, well, there's James. Did you vote for the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, corrected. James was voting as he was walking in the room.
Yes.
Oh, and Martin's abstaining because he was on travel. All right, we have today's agenda. And we have any changes to the agenda? We have walk-ins. Okay, is there any other item? Agenda items? You have one? No? Martin? Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, any other items for the agenda? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve today's agenda with additions. One more?
Have Greg Spar come in and talk about the Medicare reimbursement
Okay.
process.
Get 3 extra items in the walk-ins. We'll find out from Greg. All right. Motion by Martin, second by Jimmy. All those in favor for the agenda? Looks unanimous. Okay, let's take our first walk in CT. More, sir.
Is that we will be closing outdoor burning today at 1800 hours. It's getting pretty dry out there. We're about a month ahead of schedule. We've had a few fires. They didn't get too big, but you know they had potential. Once the heat from the day got off them, you know, and the RHs came down, then they were able to catch them. And then Banana Lake fire Saturday on the low north of Plains, escaped debris burn. Got to 850 acres pretty quick. And then, you know, once the night coolness got on it, you know, they were able to kind of catch that one. So we got 4 people heading over to Plains today for a stakeholders meeting. Lolo is already closed burning and also went to high fire danger, which we will do today also. That's a month ahead of schedule from last year. July 11th, we went to high last year. So we're well ahead of schedule and there's not much precip forecasted for the month of June. We're talking 90 on Monday. So just want to let you guys know, I'm going to get the PSA out and close some burning. You know, there are going to be some people that are just coming into town, you know, for going to want to clean up their yards and stuff, but they'll do it in the fall. So any questions?
So the Plains fire was a permitted burn that got out of control.
A debris burn, individual. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, lost it because burned on a windy day.
Yeah, it was blowing pretty good that day.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's 95% contained. I mean, they got it pretty much out. I think they're just got some interior smokes going on, maybe some cow patties. No, it was a unattended campfire. Looked like a family that probably spent Memorial Day weekend there. They've been there a while. Our investigators found some things from the Women's for Wellness thing they had last week. You know, the Logan Health spongy balls, the fidget spinners, some toys from. So that was on Thursday. So they've probably been there, you know, through the weekend and left on Monday. But yeah, you could tell they tried to put it out, just didn't use enough water. You know, it was crusty on the top and they just needed to stir it up with the tool better.
Well, thank you, CT.
Okay, thanks.
Like Brian? Come on up, Brian.
Morning, Tribal Council. Quick update for you. Water, so similar to CT's message, we're hot and dry. And that's impacting our water supply significantly. Before last week, we were seeing forecasts from the water supply forecast from NOAA that had us no problem filling, 99% sure, and no problem maintaining full pull through the initial part of summer. Over the course of 1 week, that forecast has deteriorated to where now we're seeing the likelihood of refill being missed by 0.3 of a foot. So essentially full will be to 2892.7, but it'll be a little bit late. There's still some snow left and it's coming off a little slower with the cooler temperatures this week. But the heat and the forecast for continued dry is what's really drying things up. So we're right on minimums and have been all since we could get there per the flood control requirements of the Army Corps of Engineers. We'll maintain those minimum in-stream flows right through the rest of the summer. And what that will do is in order to maintain those minimum flows, we will need to draft the lake. So it'll come down probably another 0.7 of a foot or so right now with today's forecast. So we'll see a foot below full by middle of July. Still usable for most people's docks perspective. So that's not going to be a big concern if we stay there. So I'll stop there for a second, see if there's any questions, and then talk about what I see and need to sort of brace you for on the worst side of the equation. So any questions about that? Okay, 2023. In 2023, you recall we were 2.5 feet below full pool by the end of summer. That water supply forecast that I just mentioned deteriorated significantly through the month of June. So unless we get wetter than normal weather, we could see similar deterioration in that water supply forecast as we go through the month of June. So wouldn't surprise me if this picture gets worse, not better, as we go forward. When I look at the out forecast, there's some rain in the 10-day forecast way out there, but I'll caution everybody, what I've found is that they tend to go back to normal after about a week, those forecasts. And so normal would have seen rain this time of year. We're just not seeing it. It would not surprise me if that doesn't dry up as well as we get closer to that 14-day outlook coming at us. So I anticipate drier, and I anticipate this will continue to get worse, not better. Our partners in the hydropower world are having similar issues. Libby is going to miss refill by over 10 feet. And Hungry Horse is going to miss refill by 2 feet. Not big for Hungry Horse. They're more variable than us because they're a little bit tighter reservoir tolerances. But they're going to miss refill, and then they're going to immediately start to draft for flow augmentation. And the flow augmentation is already considered in our numbers as we look at them and stay at that minimum in-stream flows. Flow out of Hungry Horse right now is 1,500 cubic feet per second. They're operating at 1 unit. We're at 12.7. That's our minimum outflow. So to give you kind of a feel for where things are at. We're working on some information right now. We do have a post on our website that's going out that basically tells people, hey, things are looking different now than they did a week ago. Just short and sweet to the facts, but anticipate we'll need to mobilize a little bit larger message. So I've reached out already to Jordan and his staff, legal department, and I'll work with them to formulate a strategy for communicating this out. Ideally, we'd get the Army Corps and Bureau of Reclamation to be right alongside of us in this conversation, but we will see, of course, given the current administration. Once we get that strategy formalized, we'll get back and let you guys know and keep you posted so you have ammo as you walk into the grocery store and get jumped on by everybody about our water compact causing problems. That's already happened with me. So any questions or thoughts or additional considerations that I should make sure we take into account as we proceed?
Anything from council? I think the promise we made was to keep everybody forecast wise what's to be expected so they can plan accordingly. If
Exactly.
they're concerned about their recreational boating
Yep.
on Flathead Lake, that would be the main concern as it always been.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people made some adjustments to their facilities and how they operate. So some of that noise went down, and I'll up the communication with the Lakers and see how that works out.
Okay.
Yeah.
What day was that again, Tom? June?
Like 2 Wednesdays from now.
I'll put a note on my calendar. Then, one thing, of course, to note, and I started putting this in my presentations this spring. This does not impact recreation. When the lake was at its lowest point this year in April, I've got pictures of at least 50 boats on East Bay. And that was the week before. If I'd have thought about taking it, there was over 100 boats. So recreation is not the impact. It is boat storage. Absolutely. So that we need to continue to make sure that gets heard loud and clear. So that's one issue. I'll move on to the next one. Recall a while back, I was in with one of our briefings. We chatted about whether or not we wanted to do any sort of celebration as we get to our 10-year anniversary for owning the facility this year. At that point, you're sort of didn't know for sure. So I want to check if we want to do something, we need to get rolling. I know in spite of the difficulties with changing hydrologic conditions and managing water, we do have a significant amount to celebrate in taking care of the facility and having it provide back, of course, to our tribal members. So don't know what your thoughts are about that, but if we want to do something, we sort of need to get moving on it now, and I'll need to tap some help from you guys to get it pulled off. So just checking in to see where you are. If you want a week or so to think about that, no problem, but I want to plant the seed. Or if you know the answer today, I'll take it.
Any preferences? I think it's always nice to, on a periodic basis to have like a 10-year progress report. Maybe something like that could be published. That might be a good idea because you have made some significant improvements in the facility, and it's meant a lot for services that we provide for our people. So I don't know. That would just be, I don't know about an event, but certainly some press is good.
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Yeah.
See how far down we are by then, huh?
All right, well, thanks, Brian. I'll keep you apprised from the TMT meeting tomorrow. That's, it's every Wednesday at 10, so we'll probably have some updates tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I'll report to them. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. You guys have a great day.
Good. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Vernon.
Isu Krishnam. Yeah, it was interesting report so far. I guess should tell Brian, just open that sucker up. Yeah. So, and then from CT, I guess I have till 6 o'clock this evening to get my burning done, huh? All right. What we hear about is kind of a, we have cultural waterways, ordinance in the works and all that, and we've always been, there's been how many years now I've been doing the river honoring. And so word wise and all of that, and what we're saying is talking about, protecting the river. I remember when the negotiations for the compact first started, and they met with the elders, and they was asking the elders what they wanted to be considered in this compact negotiations. And the one theme that came out of those discussions was basically wanted one thing: protect the water. That was the main theme: protect the water. And And to put it, kind of summarize it, my input in it was, just require everybody that uses the water that when the water leaves their property, that it be at least as clean as when it entered their property. Hopefully, it could be improved along the way, and that was the major concern of the elders. Now, since then, we kind of, a lot of times our actions kind of, aren't consistent with our words. And the issue that I wanted to bring forward today was, we had a discussion with legal department. And in that discussion, it was brought up that there was a proposal from a tribal member rancher about pumping water from the river for irrigation. And we wanted to hear more about it. And a field trip was taken and was shown exactly what they were talking about. Now, it wasn't just simply a matter of pumping water from the river, although we had issues with that part of it as well. But to the dredging and drilling of a still well in the river, I think it was something like 20 feet deep or something, but in order to support that, was also part of the plan. Now, to begin with, we were opposed to the concept, but it had never been brought before us until just recently. And so we were informed that it was in the process of being approved and it was going to go to the water board for approval. So we wanted to express our concerns that that request be denied and that it would be, not only would it be a violation of protecting the water and our part of the river, but also that, it would be, it's just culturally inappropriate, but also contrary to what we say as a tribe, what the words that we use. And it would also open a door for all of the other ranchers, all of the other farmers to propose similar things. And there was also word that there was already more of the farmers down in the Moise, the non-tribal farmers down in the Moise that were planning the similar thing, waiting for this to go through so that it could happen. Now, apparently in the process, this went through a lot of process, and somewhere along the way, somebody advised them that they didn't need a full evaluation of it. So it wasn't brought before preservation or the culture committees. And it was basically just approved. I don't know if doer or who approved it, but somewhere along the way it was encouraged. And since that meeting, we were told at the meeting that it would probably be brought back before council for approval. Since that time, I was informed that it had already been before council before it went to the water board and the council approved it. So what we're here for is to request you to reverse that decision, that it is harmful to the river, that it is harmful, that it is contrary to what we say about protecting the river, about honoring the river, about cultural waterways. And it opens the door for other folks to do this, to do the same thing. It's and I understand there has been I feel bad that there has been so much investment in it already to this point. But if it had come before us in the first place in the planning stages of it, it wouldn't have gotten this far. And it also goes along the same theme of there was my understanding that folks are allowed to put fences to allow their cows to go down into the river. I was asking the questions of lands during one of our meetings because as I drove along the river, I saw some cows standing in the river down on the other side of Ferry Basin, and I was wondering what the heck, you know. We talk about, you know, I mean, here we are, you know, hitting people over the head with about, you know, protecting the water and about, you know, all of this, and then, but we're allowing ours to do that. That wasn't right. And so we had that discussion at the elders meeting, and Lance pretty much defended their. I mean, that was their policy. The way that it was. It was. I don't know if it was grandfathered in or what, but it was. But so, in addition, along the same theme of water and protecting the water, I would like to, you know, add that, you know, that type of practice really shouldn't be allowed by anybody, you know, tribal member or otherwise, that the, you know, the cows being allowed to stand in a river, and yet we spend a whole week saying we honor the river and we have cultural waterways ordinance and we do all of these things. You know, our words aren't matching some of the actions. And so I, you know, just asking for more consideration of making those things consistent as we go along. And these things that are in the planning, you know, that are in the planning stages that affect any of our natural environment, that it really request that the first question you ask is if it has been before the culture committees and preservation. And if it hasn't, then require that during the planning stage so that there isn't so much investment in it before it comes before this. But all that being said, the request is that council take action to prevent that from happening.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for your concern. Share a lot of it myself. Any questions from council? Okay, just a couple of things that for your information, or at least the information everybody here. Part of the irrigation project, that land that you're talking about down there is served by the project. It's the end of the line. The water is pumped out of the river from the pumping plant, fills Pablo Reservoir, and then in a roundabout way makes it all the way down to that spot. Back in the times when they were able to charge that all the way, the water, by the time the water gets there, it's horrible water. It's hot, dirty, full of everything you could think of. And at times when they didn't sprinkle that, when old Henry wouldn't sprinkle that land down there, that tribal lease, it would just flood irrigate and then kind of run into the water, into the river down there by the bridge. And that's one symptom all along the river. When the irrigation project, when they would charge it and they don't use it right. If you can imagine the flow of say Ronan Spring Creek or Mission Creek, some of the wasteways of the irrigation project water, as it would make it through the entire landscape, would fill those gullies and coulees and run into the river. The one up by 4th of July camp, up by farther just downstream from there, would make the entire river brown in that return flow from the irrigation project. The one down by, there's two down by Sloan's Bridge. One of them I measured at 16 cubic feet per second, which is more than Ronan and Spring Creek. And that was like right up where, above where a little Bitterroot River comes into the Flathead River. So this horrible, warm, terrible, polluted water coming in after it makes it through all the farm fields and all the cows and everything and happening to it. Discharging directly into the river and actually making the whole river brown. You know, time and time again that would happen. So one of the good things about the compact is it was trying to make efficiencies in that system to eliminate that kind of waste and water pollution to the lower Flathead River. And so those improvements were, as we work forward, are designed to try to eliminate